Hello, 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 and welcome back to another episode of Type 1 Thursday. I am so happy to have you here. I know it's been a while since last time, but as I said on some sort of social media, I don't even remember where, but I have been under quite a lot of things to do, so I haven't quite had the energy to do these, but I am now back and I am making it a priority again. Today I have a really interesting question actually, because this is something that I've struggled with myself quite a lot. So I got a question from the audience this time to answer. So I'm very happy. If you have any questions for me, please don't hesitate to ask them and I will do my utmost everything to answer them for you live on a Type 1 Thursday in the future. Leave a comment down below. Anyway, the question is, so how do I time insulin for different meals? I'm struggling despite eating low carb, and I still spike sometimes dosing at the start of the meal and then go low 1 hour after. And if I dose at the end of the meal, I go high and then low 3 hours later. This is so confusing, and I do agree with Rachel who wrote this that it is very confusing, and I am it is difficult to figure this out, but I do have some rules of thumb that may help Rachel, may actually be a good reminder for myself, and maybe it will help one or two of you guys as well. As I see it, this can be both a dosing issue, but it can also be a timing issue. And this really comes down to, first of all, what kind of mealtime insulin are you using? Are you using regular insulin, as many people do on low carb, or are you using some of the faster ones like Humalog or Novolog or Novorapid, or are you using the even faster ones like Alfreza or Fiasp and stuff like that? It's very difficult, as these insulins have different working times and until they actually hit your system. Until you figure that out, that can be clue number one. Clue number two is that it definitely can be a timing issue, as I already said, but also part of the dose. So let me go through this very carefully, point by point, so that we don't lose any details, because that could be devastating. Anyway, so if you first spike blood sugar after your meal and then you go low, that means that you took too much insulin, but it was also too late. Hence the spike first and then the drop. So play around with that. Maybe you need to dose a little bit less, or maybe you need to do the same dose but earlier. So that can be one of the clues if that is your problem, which it was in the question actually. Number two, if you go low within the first hour, the bolus, the amount of insulin that you took was just too early because it hit your system before the food hit the system. So be careful and dose a little bit later. Number three, if your blood sugar goes high and remains high after food, your bolus or the amount of insulin that you took was just simply too small. You need more of it for that particular food or that particular situation or that particular anything that influences blood sugar, which we all know is about a gazillion things. So it was too little insulin for that situation. Or number four, which was also part of Rachel's question, you go low 2 to 3 hours after. That just means that the bolus was too much overall, because you didn't really, if you went high first and then low, that just means that it was too late, and then definitely too much because you dropped afterwards. So those are like the four different scenarios that I can figure out. And actually I shared this in a wonderful infographic from the beautiful ladies at diverge.com recently on my Facebook page. So you can go and see it there in written form, and I will also post it somewhere on the interwebs so that you have a visual but from them as well. The types of insulin I already mentioned, and it can also be if you're not recognizing the patterns that you have. So if you Notice, for example, when you have certain foods, does the one or the other happen? If you have different timings of insulin, of course, does one or the other happen, or something completely new? Or, for example, if it's the time of day, some people are more insulin resistant, for example, in the mornings than they are in the afternoons, and all of that stuff. So it can also be a timing issue, not just because of the insulin and when you took insulin and how much. It can also be depending on how or what time of day it is, because it just doesn't always add up. It's not always the same for people, and especially not type 1s that are handling a lot of issues otherwise, maybe. So that was my answer to Rachel's question. I'm very, very happy to hear your experiences with mealtime bolusing. Do you have any problems? How did you solve them? Have you maybe not solved them yet? Let me know in a comment below, and I'll be so happy to chat with you there. Thank you so much for watching.